This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
Five-ish Fangirls, I love you, and I'm one of the five-ish. In fact, I'm the biggest one of the five-ish. I am the Sixth Doctor Colin Baker, and I wish you all well. Have fun.
The tangents and squee continue all the way to episode number 17 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. And this week we have no intro because it has been stolen by Sven the reindeer. Welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off like we do every week by going around the virtual table and see who has joined us this week.
This is Christy in Salt Lake City.
This is Sally from Wisconsin.
And I am Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone. We are a couple bodies short this week, but hopefully they'll join us next week. But they are trapped in the sodding vortex this week, unfortunately. Although Michelle may pop in at some point, maybe. So if we're lucky, she will join us. But such as it is, the three of us are here and ready to discuss news and all other sorts of fun stuff this week. So let's jump straight in with news. And unfortunately, we have to start off in a bit of a bad note. Maggie Stables, which if you listen to Big Finish, especially the Sixth Doctor audios, you know her as Evelyn Smythe. She passed away last week. She died in her sleep on Friday the 26th of September after being ill for quite a long time. Big Finish executive producer Nick Briggs, Big Finish posted on their website the announcement of Maggie's passing. But Nick Briggs posted this nice long note in her honor, and we'll post a link for it so you can read the whole thing. But some of what he said was, I was keen to get her involved in the Big Finish audios, casting her as the gruff Ruthlie in our very first Doctor Who release, The Sirens of Time. It wasn't long before my friend and producer Gary Russell spotted her and saw her as potential companion material. Evelyn Smythe made Doctor Who history, the first, dare I say it, elderly companion of the Doctors. Maggie was superb in the role, and she and her doctor, Colin Baker, immediately hit it off. And even though Maggie appeared in 2 final adventures for Evelyn, it was always our intention to continue working with her. Such is the advantage of time travel. I was very pleased to welcome her back for another trilogy in 2011. Maggie was such a lovely, warm person who did a fantastic job of playing Evelyn. She was extremely popular with our listeners and is always a delight to work with. I have many fond and sometimes raucous memories of working with her in Doctor Who and on stage. Unfortunately, my favorite Maggie anecdotes are far too naughty to repeat here. Suffice to say, she had a very saucy laugh and a twinkle in her eye. Some of my warmest memories of her involve her sometimes shockingly blunt use of a put-down aimed at me, but it was always followed by that infectious laugh of hers. I shall always be grateful of her support and affection she gave to me, and for all the laughs we shared along the way. So, very sad to hear of her passing. The very first Big Finish audio I ever listened to was Evelyn's first story, The Marian Conspiracy. Being a big Sixth Doctor and Colin Baker Doctor fan that I am, when I got into Big Finish, I knew I wanted to start with my Doctor. And I'd heard such good things about him and Evelyn. I just thought that was a good place to start. And I knew I was going to enjoy it at the very least because it's my Doctor. But I immediately fell in love with Evelyn as a companion. She was absolutely terrific. I'm working my way slowly through the catalog and I've listened to several more of hers, and I look forward to listening to the rest of Evelyn's stories. But it'll be much more bittersweet now knowing that she is no longer with us. So
I know, and it's like, it kind of felt like it came out of the blue because no one really knew that she was
sick. Yeah,
I didn't know she was doing poorly, and
yeah,
like you said, like Evelyn's one of the best Big Finish companions, and I mean, probably even I mean, if we want to rank him as Doctor Who fans are wont to do, I mean, she's up there with the best of the best,
yes.
and
Yeah.
and it's in no small part due to Maggie Stable's performance, and she will be missed terribly.
If I, she brings her own unique spin to what it is to being a Doctor Who companion, but I always enjoyed Evelyn because Evelyn's a teacher. She's a university professor, and she's a historian, but she always gave me this vibe of, she's older, but she's got a little vim and vigor. It's a very Minerva McGonagall feel to it.
Oh, definitely. I've never thought of it that way, but now that you said that, I'm like, perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So.
she's strict, she's stern, but like one of my favorite Evelyn stories is Doctor Who and the Pirates. And I mean, that's kind of a funny, silly story on the surface, but there's like a really heartfelt sentiment to it as well when you get into the story, and just that was the kind of character that Evelyn was, and that she was like your kindly grandmother, that even though, and if you gave her crap, she wouldn't take it from you, but she would, be there with chocolate cake and just be there for you. Yeah. So,
or in Evelyn's case, her trusty can of cocoa powder.
Yes. And she and the Sixth Doctor were a great pair.
Yes.
So.
Very much so.
Our next bit of news is Homestar Runner is back.
Yay!
HomestarRunner.com has been updated again with its first full cartoon in nearly half a decade, and it doesn't skimp on the stuff about the characters and the chap's sense of humor. It features Coach Z and his ridiculous speech impediment, which may or may not just be an affectation, coming over to Strong Dads for help making a music video for a new number one jam. The immensely catchy rap song tells us about the use of a fisheye lenses, in hip-hop videos as they proceed to make a video of their own using the self-same techniques powered by the cheat, of course. And without fail, just as everything is going great, Homestar shows up to ruin all the fun, but makes the audience laugh.
And it did.
Yes.
And it's very catchy, too. It'll get your eye.
It is. Yep, I'm sure they have it up for download on the website somewhere, as they did with all their other number one jams.
Yeah.
We will be posting the links to those in the show notes.
Yes. So.
Yes, and it is a catchy one, and it's good to have Strong Bad back again.
Yeah.
Hope it becomes a regular thing as time goes on, but.
Yeah. Well, they've been the creators. We talked about that early on in the podcast when they made the announcement that they want to bring it back. So, and they seem to be sticking to their word. So, yay! Yep. That brings back memories.
Oh, it does.
Being in college on the Homestar Runner site, just going through all the videos and just trying not to laugh because I was like in the library and not supposed to be laughing out loud.
Yep, that's when I was listening to it too. And I was editor of the school paper, and our webmaster, I think I told this story before, but I'll tell it again. Our webmaster got us all hooked onto it, because when it's midnight and you're in the newspaper office up against a deadline and you're loopy, oh boy, Homestar Runner. It's like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
That's how I got hooked on it. Many late nights in that newspaper office. Holy cow.
Yeah.
They needed something to break the tension.
Yeah.
Oh yes, especially when your computers kept crashing and you'd lose all your work. Mm-hmm. But that's another story for another day.
Yeah. So. Pardon me. All right. In other news, something that I desperately hoped was going to happen and now has been confirmed is Dominic Cooper is going to reprise his role as Howard Stark in the TV series Agent Carter. So, Cooper has officially signed on to appear as Howard though the amount of episodes he'll be appearing in is currently unknown. The official plot synopsis for Agent Carter is the series follows the story of Peggy Carter. It's 1946, and peace has dealt Peggy a serious blow as she finds herself marginalized when the men return home from fighting abroad. Working for the covert SSR, Strategic Scientific Reserve, Peggy must balance doing administrative work and going on secret missions for Howard Stark, all while trying to navigate life as a single woman in America in the wake of losing the love of her life, Steve Rogers. So, very exciting.
Sounds a little bit like Clara, where she has to have a secret life plus
bit.
a regular day job.
A little bit. So
and has to figure out how to do both.
It's interesting that the synopsis says that she's working for the SSR and doing administrative work, but going on missions for Stark. So I wonder if this takes place before or after the short.
I would,
because at the end of the short, I would say, but in the way that the short ended is that she was going to leave the SSR and go work with Howard and be in the ground floor of Shield. So I if this takes place after, I guess they'll explain, what she's doing, or I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. I thought SSR was Shield, or what Shield eventually. Or would eventually become S.H.I.E.L.D. But maybe I'm wrong.
But she wasn't. I mean, she did the one mission in the short, but it was for the SSR. It wasn't for Howard. That's the thing. It's like Howard. Right. Howard didn't call her until she took, the initiative to go and do this mission, and it caught his attention. So.
Well, I guess we'll find out when it starts airing.
Yeah, I guess so.
But that's cool. Dominic Cooper's coming back.
Yeah.
I love that they're getting all these guys that were in the movies and to come back and be in the TV shows.
Yeah.
Whether it's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. or Agent Carter.
Yep.
Helps with the continuity flow.
Yes, it does.
Helps. So. Anyway, and our last bit of news comes from my hometown convention, Salt Lake Comic-Con. It's actually about fan experience or FanX. The last one was last year, and it was their spring convention because Comic-Con in the fall was so huge. They decided, hey, we have enough interest, we can do two. Well, after Comic-Con ended, I thought they were going to have a big announcement like, oh, here's our guests already and the dates and everything. Well, they've run into a little bit of a hiccup with scheduling for the 2015 FanX. Basically, there are 2 weekends in the spring/winter that are available for them to do the convention. One is January 29th through 31st, which is during the Sundance Film Festival, which is always a huge thing, which is actually in Park City, but Park City's the skiing extension of Salt Lake, and so there'll be a lot of celebrities in town for that. So they're thinking, maybe we can get some to come down to FanX and make it a whole big, not joint thing, but just sort of do its own thing. The only problem is if you've ever been in Utah in January, it's cold as crap and it's snowy and miserable. The other weekend is April 2nd through 4th, which is weather's better. The only problem, quote unquote, problem with that is that the first weekend of April is also the LDS Church's General Conference, and the convention center where FanX would be is blocks away from the LDS Conference Center. And on a normal General Conference weekend, it is a zoo every 2 hours because sessions are going and people are coming and going, and just. They're concerned about congestion traffic-wise, but some of us would do both. So what they're asking, the FanX organizers are asking if there's a poll on their website, and you can vote either for the weekend in January or the weekend in April, or vote for them just scrapping it all together and just focusing on the event in September. I really don't have a preference one way or the other. I do think April would be a little too congested on that particular weekend, although it would only affect the Saturday of it, and so like Thursday and Friday would be fairly clear. So that's not that big of an issue. Just Saturday would kind of be a pain. Then the weather would be nicer. January would be interesting just to see if we could pull off a wintertime convention, and with it being Sundance, that would kind of be a cool partnership. But I don't know. So if it's something you're interested in, if you're planning to go to FanX, if you have any input, go vote, leave a comment. They're asking for input, so let them know what you think.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's good that they're letting the constituents have a say.
Yeah,
So.
I mean, I'm sure they have their own ideas what they want to do, and ultimately it's up to them. Yeah. But I do like that they're asking the people that would go, like, what weekend would you prefer? Mm-hmm. And a lot of people would come in the January one to go skiing. I don't really care about skiing one way or the other. I've been once, and it was a miserable experience, and I never want to repeat again. Which I know is sacrilege where
you live,
around these parts, especially where I live, because there's some big outdoor enthusiasts, and I'm just like, I don't care.
I'm gonna be inside where it's warm.
Yes, exactly. Inside is where all my friends live. They live in the computer.
Yeah.
Yep. Or in your books.
Yeah.
Around my books, yes.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
With hot chocolate and my slippers.
Yes, exactly.
Anyway, speaking of hot chocolate and my slippers, how was that for a segue?
Well, we'll get to that. We'll hold that thought. That's it for news, and we don't have any feedback this week, but we do have a couple of plugs. I think we'll put in at this moment. If you've seen on social media, we've already started, but you're only at this point for maybe depending on when you listen to this 5 days behind. But we are doing a photo challenge this month. That is the 31 days of Halloween, and details for all that you can find on the blog. But it's just a fun thing. We do, a lot of us do the ABCs of insert pop culture topic here on every month. But for the month of October, we decided to make it some creepy Doctor Who alien type topics for the photo challenge. So you can, if you want to play catch up, you can, or if you just want to pick up on whatever day you happen to listen to this, you can do that too. There's very loose with the rules, are more like guidelines really. So there's that. And then Chrissy, do you want to tell everyone or remind everyone what the book is for the book club?
Yes. When you were starting to talk about plugs, I was like, oh, that's two.
Yep.
Appropriately, speaking of Halloween, this month for the Traveling the Vortex book club, we will be reading Forever Autumn by Mark Morris. It has officially started, but if you can, it's a quick little read, very Halloweenish. I mean, you look at the cover, there's a great big jack-o'-lantern on it. It's a 10th Doctor and Martha story. I've read it several times. It takes place in Salem, Massachusetts, which is like Halloween, USA, which I think is really kind of cool. That they have a Doctor Who story there. I mean, that's where supposedly the American version of Hogwarts is, according to the Harry Potter universe. So, but yeah, it's a fun little read. So we're starting it. Leave your review, comments on the Goodreads page. We'll put a link to that if you haven't joined and you would like to join the book club. This last couple months of the summer kind of petered out, and that's my fault because life got crazy. I'm hoping that it won't be the case that way for very long. And fall's a great time to start up reading new things or old favorites. So anyway, yeah.
And if you're worried about it being a Martha story, it's a good one. It's better than the story of Martha.
Yeah, this is not the story of Martha and left the rest of it going, what? What are we doing?
Yep.
I have no idea. We totally, she's walking the earth, but we only got her to walk halfway across the earth. So anyway, but no, Forever Autumn. It's excellent. So that's what we're reading this month for October.
Yep.
So very, very Halloweenish, all the way around.
Yep. All right. So, as we mentioned last week, that this week we were going to be talking about the return of Once Upon a Time. So,
hooray!
Speaking of it being cold and snowy, it's gotten a little chilly in Storybrooke.
Just a little bit.
Just a little. You're nobody's building any snowmen. They're building 50-foot giant monsters made out of snow and ice.
No. I have to say this because I'd seen some of the spoiler set report pics back in July when they were filming this, and there was talk of, they're going to have the giant snowman, and I was like, is this going to be Marshmallow? Please let this be Marshmallow. Because
it was Marshmallow.
It was Marshmallow, and I was like, I don't know, because I love Frozen. I love it to pieces. But I love Marshmallow more than I love Olaf, and I could not begin to tell you why. So I knew. Well, if you've seen the little stinger after the credits of Frozen, and I don't think a lot of people have, but there's a little. Yeah, you need to see it. There's this little scene where Marshmallow's wandering out Elsa's ice castle, and he finds her little tiara, and he puts it on.
He steps on it.
Oh, yeah, he steps on it, and he picks it up, and he's like, and he puts it on, and he feels pretty. It's so cute. And I'm like, I want a Marshmallow plushie. So I was very happy that they got Marshmallow into Frozen, even though it was being mean and scary and threatening, but not as threatening as it would seem, despite everything Grumpy said.
Yeah. So,
I'll take Marshmallow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, where do we want to start?
Oh boy.
Well,
we could do this through the entire episode, or we could break it up by character story, or.
Well, let's. Well, the opening scene really doesn't fit anywhere other than just the general Frozen arc. So I guess we could kind of start there.
Yeah.
Because I loved the opening scene. It's of when Elsa and Anna's parents, the king and queen, are sailing to somewhere we don't know yet, but we do find out. And they're in the storm that you saw briefly in Frozen during Do You Want to Build a Snowman? And their mother's writing a letter, and they chuck it out to sea and everything, and they're talking about, they need to know the truth, and I'm sitting there going, why didn't you tell them this before you left?
Yeah,
but
we don't see it written down.
I liked your commentary in your blog write-up, Chrissy, where you're all like, how it should have ended got it right.
Yeah, exactly. The little troll and how it should have ended. Wow,
parenting fail.
Big parenting fail. So, yeah, I'm just like, whatever. But the one shot I really liked, and I liked a lot of shots in us, but this, and you can tell they're taking pains to emulate Frozen as much as they possibly can in a live action form, is this shot of the ship going down is almost shot for shot exactly what it was in the movie. It just, like, the ship was at the right angle, the waves, and I was like, that is very cool. And that's just something I very much appreciate, even though I know nothing about special effects other than when they look good and when they don't. But anyway, so that was that opening scene. And then the next scene is Elsa and Anna visiting their parents' graves, which I think was the scene, one of the clips they showed at Comic-Con.
You're right.
And it, I've gushed about it before. They cast perfect Elsa and perfect Anna.
Especially Anna.
I know.
Anna's spot on.
And this is
good.
Elizabeth Lail's first role of any kind. She's fresh out of acting school or drama school or whatever they call it. So this is her first big thing, and I'm just like, wow, I'm impressed.
Yep, she's doing good.
I mean, she's got this spunky, perky, everything. She is Anna. And I'm like, that is just perfect.
Yeah.
And I've seen her in a couple of interviews, and she's a little bit, she's funny. She's a little bit starstruck, and she's like, I always wanted to be a Disney princess, and now I kind of am one. It's like, no, honey, you are one.
Oh yeah.
So kudos to the casting department. Not that you guys are schlubs anyway, because you've done some pretty good casting elsewhere too.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all the Frozen characters look really good, I think. And then it all kind of picks up where the finale left off, and I was thinking about this the other day, just how many open threads they left open at the end of last season. Mm-hmm. And there was so much to cover in this episode, and it kind of felt like every beat was like, okay, here we go here we go here we go here, and here, and here, and here, and it's just all a little taste of all your questions are going to be answered this season, just not in the first episode, but we haven't forgotten about them. Mm-hmm. So it kind of felt like where most Once Upon a Time episodes focus on like maybe one or two characters or one storyline or plot line, this one had to bring everything together. Mm-hmm. And it felt, I don't want to say it felt rushed, because I think it was just perfect. It's just more of it's an appetizer, I guess, for the rest of the season. Yeah. Kind of thing, and even set up some new stuff as it goes along. Because like you see, because then it goes into you see Elsa walking out of the barn, like you did at the end of season 3, and then it cuts to the scene outside of Granny's. Like here comes Regina walks out, and Emma comes out after her, and they have this little. Not confrontation, but this little exchange.
Emma feels like she needs to fix everybody's problem. Mm-hmm. It seems like she's like, I screwed up and I need to fix this. And Regina's like, I want nothing to hear what you have to say at the moment. So.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think, Emma takes her role as the savior very seriously, because I feel like you give her a job with anything, and she's just going to throw herself into it, which kind of comes into play later with some other stuff. That it's just kind of an interesting thing. Like even before Storybrooke, you saw her as a bail bonds person, and that's what she did. That was her entire life, and that's all she knew how to do, and she was very good at it. Yeah. And to the exclusion of almost everything else, which I think is a really interesting character, a very, very subtle character thing. I can't think of what to call it, but it's still very much with it in her, what she's doing. Like even though she has accepted that Storybrooke is her home and these are her parents and all these things, she's still Emma, and she's still doing what she does and stuff. But yeah, then Robin and Marion come out, and Robin's like, no, it's, Regina's really nice and everything, and she's fine. She's not what you think. Let's talk about this. And he's doing the best he can, poor guy. Yeah. With what
everybody is. It's like you've got Mary Margaret and David there, and they're all like, Regina, are you okay? And Marion's all like, why are you guys talking to her like she's your friend? She's the evil queen. She's the biggest, witch with a capital
she's
other
a
letter.
Monster.
She's a monster. Yeah. And it's like, poor, you almost feel bad for Regina, because, she has this reputation for a reason. She's got a history, and it paints her in a really bad picture, but she's honestly tried to turn a new leaf, and her her past keeps rearing its ugly head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
With the people that haven't got to know her.
Yeah. Because he saw the hand go up a couple of times, but then it went right back down.
Yeah.
And what's interesting, and I was thinking about this, I watched the episode before we started a little bit, is that Marion has skipped, like, she time traveled. She skipped everything between, the curse and Regina and everything. And so these are all these people, especially like Snow and Charming, and I guess to an extent Robin Hood, like these were all Regina's enemies at one point. Mm-hmm. But now they've they've opened up to her, they've gotten to know her better, and Regina's had been given a chance to do better and to prove herself in the eyes of all these people. But you've got one person who hasn't seen that, and it is a reminder of what Regina used to do, and it all just falls apart for Regina. But not entirely, I don't think. I don't want to say that it's all gone out the window, especially like Henry's there, and he's like, you don't think she's going to turn evil, she's gone too far, she can't. And I'm just like, Henry, go with your mom and go be with her,
Give her that
and then
talk.
Yeah. And it's like with that one scene where Emma's trying to call Regina and Regina's not answering, and I'm like, why doesn't Henry call her? Because she'll probably answer the phone if he calls, and we never find out if she did or not, but I know, because probably just wasn't time in the episode to do that, but because it's like, Regina is not the evil queen that she was anymore, and she even says, that was the person I was, not the person I am. So it was a very good bridge, I guess, the rest of the season from that, you're just like your mother and she's gonna, be the evil queen again and incinerate everybody. And no, she's not, but she's still very, very hurt, which I think is a new dimension for that they haven't really shown with Regina. So, but it'll be interesting to see kind of how that plays out as they go along.
And I even after that, the scene later where Robin comes to her and, has this little heart-to-heart with Regina, and he's all like, what we had and what we have is very real, and I really care for you. And I'm like, I know there's going to be a but. And then there was the but, and I was like, oh.
So this is my question about that, because he says, he made a vow and he married, when he and Marion got married.
Which
and,
it makes sense, because,
I'm like,
he went from being a widower to still having a live, legally wed wife who's also a mother.
Shouldn't that first death negate that? I don't know. I'm trying to find a loophole.
Yeah.
Desperately, because I'm like, I can't stand this.
Yeah.
I really liked Robin and Regina. I mean, on the surface, it's kind of like Robin Hood and the Evil Queen. Are you serious? But the way they played it out is like, yeah, I really like this. I like where this is going. Like, let's do more with this, with these characters. And apparently this is what we're doing more with these characters. And I'm just kind of like, well, darn it.
Yeah.
But it'll be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, especially because after Regina's conversation with Robin, she regresses a little.
Yeah, we could say that.
Yeah, a little bit. Goes back and finds Sidney Glass, a.k.a. the Magic Mirror, who, if you watch season 1, actually kind of had a little thing for Regina back in the day.
I think he still does.
Oh, yeah.
He does.
This might come back to Regina.
He worships the ground Regina walks on. So.
Oh, yeah. You watch that and there was like, oh, boy. I don't know whether... I don't know. I'm kind of uncomfortable watching it, but I kind of think that's the point.
Yeah, because I just got this feeling that Regina can control him only so far, and I think that he's going to do whatever he wants to try to prove his love to her and please her. Because you got to remember that Sidney Glass also doubled as the genie.
Yeah,
that's true.
So
although maybe that's why she put him back in the mirror. Even though it was, quotes, only temporary.
Yeah.
But we'll see how temporary it becomes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
there's a lot of magic swirling around this town.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yeah. I think we'll get to that, too.
Yeah.
Well, maybe we should go into Rumple and Belle, since they're kind of next on the docket a little bit.
They didn't get a whole lot of screen time, but what they did was significant enough.
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Well, you have that. Been a scene that everybody, I think, has been clamoring for since
my goodness.
Season 1.
So Rumple and Belle are married, and they are going to go on a honeymoon, and Belle found a mansion, for a lack of a better term, that appeared on the edge of town from, as far as Belle can tell, the last curse. and she's seen it and she's been by it, and nobody seems to be living there, although it's immaculately kept. There's no dust or anything. But she convinces Rumple that they should borrow it for their honeymoon. But before that, though, they stop by the graveyard so that Rumple can go pay respects to Neil. Which
that was a heart-wrenching
feels
And I got thinking about it, I'm like, I don't think Rumple has had the chance to properly mourn his son.
Yeah.
No,
because he wasn't at the funeral.
Right, he was still in the cage at the farmhouse.
Yeah, he was locked up by Zelina, and that little scene where he's, speaking to his son, basically, it was very interesting because when there's the big reveal that he has the real dagger and Belle has a fake. We're like, oh, what's he gonna do? And he's like, well, the reason he did it was so he could avenge Balefire's death, and he was gonna give it back. He promises.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But now he's like, I don't know that I want to, but I know I should. And
there was a part of me during that entire scene where he's, talking to Neil's grave, and he's holding the dagger. He's pulled it out of his coat jacket, the pocket, and he's explaining to Neil that he had to switch the daggers, and he did it with noble intentions. And there was part of me that it was all like, is Belle gonna end up walking up behind him and hear him say that?
Or in the car.
I worried there for a second, like, is she gonna overhear this conversation and find out?
Bless her heart, is very, very trusting, apparently.
Yes, she stayed in the car, apparently, so she didn't know. But they get to this house, and Belle's giving, Rumple the Grand Circle tour, and she's in the middle of a sentence, and he time locks her for a second and switches the daggers and gives her the real one, and we're all like, oh, he told Neil he was gonna switch him back, and he did. So
okay, well,
kudos to him.
That solves that then.
Yeah. So he switches him, unfreezes Belle, and then she takes him to it's a ballroom, but it's not like huge, but it's big enough. It's like,
it almost looks like a library too, because there's bookcases
on the upper level,
side,
and all
but
that.
Not very many.
Yeah, and Rumple makes the remark that we've been husband and wife for almost 20, a full day, and we haven't had our first dance. And he uses his magic and I don't know if the record player was there or if he made it appear. But he gets this record player going and switches their outfits, and he puts Belle in the gold dress and him in the blue with the tails and all that, and the record player starts playing Beauty and the Beast. I'm getting tears just thinking about this scene.
It was so good. I mean, it was kind of teased in the promos and stuff, so we kind of knew it was coming, but it was just sort of like,
but to see
they finally...
Yeah, to see them dancing around the ballroom with the outfits on, and you hear the melody of Beauty and the Beast, playing in the background, and it's just like, oh, it's my childhood.
Mm-hmm.
I know. I was like, this is it. This is my childhood, and it's gorgeous and wonderful, and I love that they had that scene where it's not exactly, advancing the plot or anything. Like, we had plenty of advancing the plot from them up to this point, but this one is it's a fun Beauty and the Beast scene. It's, it's just a quiet moment with those two. They've just gotten married. They're on their honeymoon. Just let them have a sweet little moment.
Mm-hmm. And no interruptions.
Perfect.
Yes.
And no interruptions and
no drama and nothing.
No tricking, no malicious magic. The only magic is making this look awesome and pretty. Yeah. And the scene was so well lit. Like when because they're in that front of that window with those curtains, so you don't really. It's just those two. Mm-hmm. Like there's no real background. It's just white in the background because they're by that window, and it's just and they have the chandelier, and I'm like, oh,
yeah,
I loved it.
Yeah, we all kind of lost it. Those of us we were on Facebook at the same time watching, and it happened, and like the music started playing, and we all just kind of lost it. It's like
we were just like. They're doing the thing.
Yeah. I think it was kind of
Like, you don't understand. I had this on VHS and I played it over and over and over.
Oh, no, see.
Specifically.
Beauty and the Beast was my Disney movie growing up. Like, Little Mermaid was my first one ever, but Beauty and the Beast, when I saw that one, and, you know, Belle, I mean, obviously I got the bookworm thing going, and I just loved the heck out of that movie, and I still do. It's still my favorite Disney. I mean, Frozen's in stiff competition with it, but I don't think Beauty and the Beast will ever be unseated as my favorite Disney movie ever.
Yeah.
I agree with you there, Christy, because when I was growing up, Little Mermaid was my first one, so I had a Little Mermaid poster that I hung up on my bedroom wall. But then as soon as Beauty and the Beast came out, completely fell in love with it, and the Little Mermaid poster went down, and the Beauty and the Beast poster went up, and it stayed there until I redecorated my room.
I wanted to be Belle for Halloween that year, and my mom wanted us all to be M&Ms for Halloween because it was easier costume to make. And I was like, Mother! There was some other thing. Like, she wanted us all to be M&Ms because it was cute. And I was like, I want to be Belle. But then when I got to college, I mocked up a Belle costume, her blue dress and everything. So I got to do it when I was older.
Cool.
So there was that.
Rumple and Belle are safely ensconced in their honeymoon mansion. Oh, meanwhile, over in Storybrooke, all heck is broken.
Well, it hasn't broken loose yet.
It's going to.
I guess we should back up.
Yeah, and Grumpy needs to choose a better designated driver.
Okay, yeah. Can I just ask, why do you pick the dwarf that is prone to falling asleep as your designated driver?
I'd rather have Sneezy.
Yeah, like what was Doc drunk under the table already? What's the deal? And Sneezy was the only one available. So apparently,
Sleepy was the only one available.
Or Sleepy. What did I say?
Yeah, Sneezy.
Sneezy.
I don't know.
I meant Sleepy.
Sneezy. Would be like my second least favorite choice to be behind the wheel of the vehicle, though. I think. So.
That's true. So anyway, yeah. After the whole showdown or confrontation with Regina and Emma, there is a scene with Grumpy. He's going off to find a beer or something, and Sleepy is a designated driver, and Elsa is walking into town. And I've got to say, I love when she's walking into town. I was actually looking for this on purpose. You can still see in the background the trail of ice that's coming up because everywhere she walks, she just leaves a trail of ice because she's really scared and nervous, and when she's scared and nervous, her ice powers manifest And so she's walking down the road, and here come Sleepy and Grumpy, and Sleepy is falling asleep, and Grumpy's trying not to wreck, and Elsa has never seen a car in her life, and it's obviously a very scary thing. So she freezes the thing to the road, and I guess the dwarves are knocked out from the crash impact, whatever it was, and so she goes off, and then we don't see them for a little bit. But until the next morning when the Charming family's out for a little stroll, and I gotta say, bless Charming's heart for mentioning maybe we should have named the baby Balefire.
Yeah.
Because I'm still weirded out that they called the kid Neil.
It'd be cute, but that's just an awfully long name to try and embroider onto a onesie. So maybe
that's true, but it's just. Neil was Emma's ex that left her in jail.
Yeah, like
I don't know.
You named your baby after your grandson's biological father.
Yeah.
Welcome to Once Upon a Time.
Yeah. Here's the family tree. It will change as the story goes on.
Yeah, there was one on Tumblr I saw, and it was like somebody mapped it out, and I'm like, bless your heart, how did you do that?
And I hope you made room for changes because it's going.
Yes, there are plenty to come.
Yeah.
So how many aspirin did you have to down in order to get it done?
Yeah. Although it looked really good.
Yeah.
So that's when Emma and Henry kind of have a conversation about Regina. Henry, maybe you ought to try calling, and
he does.
And And Snow and Emma are kind of just talking about random stuff like, oh, I hope Regina's okay, and how's Henry taking it? And you see both of his moms with new men, and
way to be subtle,
Emma,
Snow.
and I'm like, oh, thank goodness Snow is okay with this, because for a while I thought maybe Snow would not be too hip on who Emma may or may not be dating, because anyway,
She's
a
mother. She's that's what mothers do. They're concerned about their children's welfare and they want them to be happy.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but Snow seems to be all right with it, but Emma is still a little bit like, I don't know what this is. I don't know what's going on. And guess who comes? Enters stage left. There's Hook.
The man in question.
Here he comes. And he's obviously been off on some errand for Emma, like looking for Regina, and they can't find her. And Emma's like, oh, yeah, that's great. And so they but she's pointedly avoiding him, mm-hmm. or, just doesn't want to have this conversation, even though she's kind of, I don't know, I think like the night before she was all like, yeah, this is great. But now, savior duties mm-hmm. come up, and she actually gives that excuse to him when they go around the corner. And I love his facial, I love his expression when she's like, I'm just dealing with stuff, and he's like, there's always a crisis, and mm-hmm. there's always gonna be something. You've got to try to live your life in the middle of all of it. But he's very, because there was a similar conversation between Emma and Charming the last season, mm-hmm. like between the Neverland arc and. But Charming is he's very sweet dad sort of thing, and Hook is just like not taking any of Emma's bull crap, I guess. Mm-hmm. And he's a little bit more forceful about it. Not like terribly forceful, but he's, I don't know, how would you say it? How would you?
He's trying to make her realize what she doesn't want to admit there.
Yeah. Yeah.
She knows it's there, but she doesn't want to mm-hmm. quite admit it yet that she's ready. Mm-hmm. And I think Snow too kind of wanted to stick around to listen to that conversation to kind of mm-hmm. bring Emma down and realize it. But I was just like, that's okay. Hook and I need to talk alone. And she wasn't too thrilled having to turn that baby carriage around and back the other way.
That's true, and I'm sure we're gonna get a Mama Snow moment with all that, and because mm-hmm. it's coming, I'm sure, at some point.
Mm-hmm.
But it was
starting to grow on her, but I think she's still a little leery, but not as bad.
Not as much as she was, mm-hmm. I think, and I think having that missing year, kind of, because I always have to keep reminding myself there's a year between. Neverland and the Wizard of Oz and all this other stuff happening. That there's a lot of things that could have happened, and other conversations that could have been had. Not and Charming is very much friends with Hook, and so that's that counts for something, definitely. So I don't think there's going to be like problems. As long as Emma's obviously happy with Hook. She's just doesn't know how to be happy. Really,
I think too, Hook kind of went up in Snow's book with what he did to get back to find her in New York, bring her back, get her memories back.
Mm-hmm. Well, just the fact that he brought her back at all. I don't know how many people know what he gave up to do it.
Right.
So, just the fact that he brought her back at all, it's like, oh, okay, well, you're not as bad as I thought you were.
That's a good way. That's a good way to score with your love interest's parents.
Yes, with the future in-laws.
Yeah, potential future.
So, but yeah, Emma really, she's never. This is all new territory for her. She's always been on her own. She's not used to anyone looking out for her, or even having this much confidence in her, and always Hook is just always encouraging her, even in this episode later on, when they're fighting the snow monster, and they're all like, oh, Emma's got magic, and she's like, what, magic, me? And he's like, yeah, you can do this. And she does it, and it's just he's like Emma Swan fan club #1. Join us. We have T-shirts.
Well, too, and I think Emma's probably still gun shy from when she and Neil were together, and Neil bumped into August, and August was just like, "Hey, you got to do what I tell you." And I think she's kind of waiting for that other shoe to drop to see if it actually happens. But I don't think.
Yeah.
I have fingers crossed that it's not going to.
I don't think it will. If it does happen, it will be because there are other outside forces making it happen, if that makes sense. Like, because Hook is still, he's still, I think he's still kind of got some baggage from his past, and we've been promised that will be explored at some point in this season, which I'm like, hallelujah, and bless all the little angels in heaven, because dang it, they need some more Hook backstory. Because every Hook-centric episode they've had has just been amazing and wonderful, and I want more of it. Yeah. So if they're gonna do it, bring it. I want it. Yeah. Let me see it.
And there's got to be, unfortunately, something, because I mean, you got to look at it from, this is a TV show that, the storyline is progressed by drama. But at the same time, if you look at it from an internal story, line point of view, that, you can't go from being, in the, the nice, law-abiding citizen line of work that Hook was in before and become a cutthroat pirate without leaving something in your wake. So there's bound to be something.
Yeah, I'm one thing I really want to see is, what happened between the time, he was that hopeful, wide-eyed younger brother lieutenant to being, the most notorious pirate ever. Like, I know at the end of that one episode he said, our king is corrupt, let's be pirates and steal the ship, and we're gonna live by our own laws and our own code and all that stuff. But it's still, you don't just jump over that overnight. And I'm like, what was that transition like? And how did it go from chucking the rum off the ship to guy liner and leather?
Yeah.
There has to be like a gradual progression, not boom.
Yeah. And I do think some. I mean, obviously, a lot of it is due to his brother, and it's because I think his brother kept him in line a lot of the time. I really have this image of little Killian Jones just being this little troublemaking little turd,
scoundrel,
and then Liam just coming out and bailing him out of trouble all the time, and then finally he shapes up because he hero worships his older brother, and his brother dies, and he's like, well, screw this, I'm gonna go do my own thing because I'm hurting.
Yeah.
So anyway, we could talk about Hook all day, but that's only part of what we're talking about, because while Emma and Hook are kind of having a moment, Grumpy comes in, town crier that he is, and goes, we're under attack! And it wasn't so much they were under attack, it's like, you got iced over in your van because you let the narcoleptic drive.
Exactly. Grumpy, the only one you have to blame for that one is yourself.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
And so the dwarves come running, and I find this interesting, they came running to Emma, whereas usually they would go running for Snow and Charming. But this time it's Emma they come running to, and they're like, oh, your car got frozen, what's going on? And they see this little telltale strip of ice going through the town, and so they follow it. Well, let's see, we probably ought to backtrack and talk a little bit more about Frozen.
Yeah, but we know we know at that point that Elsa has made her way actually into Storybrooke proper.
Right.
But how she got there is, we see in the flashes to Arendelle, it's the day before Anna and Kristoff's wedding, and they've gone to visit their graves, their parents' graves, and Elsa's telling Anna that they'd be so proud of you that you're getting married, and Kristoff's a great guy and all that, and Elsa's all like, I have a surprise for you. And they go back, and she surprises Anna with their mother's wedding dress. And this beautiful necklace that's this like silver, shiny, sparkly, like snowflake hanging on a chain. And everybody that I know that has seen this episode is now scouring the internet for a replica of it. But
if they were smart, they would make one. Officially.
But while
There's
they're
money to be made
while
there.
they're in this room, while they're in this room, which I'm guessing was like their mother's like dressing room.
It's like in the attic or something.
Yeah. While Anna's changing into the wedding dress, Elsa's going. She's just kind of like they're chit chatting, and she's like, oh, this. She's standing by the desk, and there's papers. She's just kind of flipping through them, not really looking for anything, but she comes across her mother's diary, and starts reading it, and she reads something that just totally freaks her out, and she runs off. And then Anna goes running off after her while wearing the wedding dress. And a million bridezillas are fainting in shock because she would do such a thing. Yeah. But I love all the shots of Elsa when she is in this mode of anxiety, because like when she first reads it and you see her in her face like she's reading the diary, and these little snowflakes start falling around her head, and they stay there, like they're very consistent even when she runs out the door. They follow in her wake, and Anna is just running after her. And then the next scene you see her in, there's just this beautiful, beautiful shot of Elsa sitting there in her blue dress, and she's in the forest somewhere, and the sun's coming down through the trees, and the snow is still falling around Elsa, and it's just, I don't know what, like, it's just the way the light and the colors work. I'm like, I want that as a wallpaper, because that just looks so beautiful. And I'm like, we highly praise the costume design on this show, and rightly so, but man, this episode got a lot of the special effects just boom, 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 just so good. Yep. And that was one of them that I just loved. Yeah. Like they put a lot of work and effort into that. But very commendable. Yeah. Anna follows Elsa, and Elsa's like, I want to be alone, and Anna's all like, you have a sister, you're never going to be alone. Which is such an Anna thing to say. Yeah, it's such an Anna thing. All her little aside, little side quips. Yeah, but it is so Anna. Yeah, you're right, Rachel. Yeah, it is. Elsa shows Anna the diary entry that she read, and I don't remember exactly what it said. You've watched it more recently than I have, I think. It says something about what we have seen from Elsa is terrifying. Right. Which Elsa takes to mean that that her parents thought she was terrifying. And I'm like, no. It's what you can do that's terrifying. But there's no details in there, and I'm just kind of like,
it's vague.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, it's very vague. I'm like, okay, Mom, Queen, Lady, whatever. This is your diary. Okay, you have an expectation that this is going to stay private. I mean, maybe, years later after your death, your daughters will find it. Hopefully you've told them something by now. Yeah.
You can spill a
Can't you be more specific?
Yeah.
For crimini's sake.
Again, parenting fail.
Parenting just... Hi.
Diary writing 101.
Diary writing fail.
Yeah. But Elsa automatically assumed that's why her parents left. Is told them one thing, but they were actually running away or something. She automatically assumes that her parents were terrified of her and wanted nothing to do with her, and that's why they left. And it's her fault because they left. They got caught in the storm and died. And, she jumps to all these conclusions, and Anna's all like, calm down, take a chill pill, which is, ironic when you consider the person. She needs to chillax. But, Anna gets a bright idea of like, well, we could, I think I know where we can get some answers.
Let's go see my in-laws.
Let's go see my future in-laws. So
Which are
they
the
go
rock
to the valley or whatever in there now Arendelle where Kristoff's family, the trolls, live, and they go see Grandpappy. And again with the special effects. Like Grandpappy's just straight out of the movie, and it's voiced by John Rhys Davies, which is just the coolest thing ever.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I was a little nervous about seeing the rock trolls because, I mean, in the past, once upon a times, special effects have been a little ropey, but passable. It's fine. So I was a little nervous. I mean, but I've already praised them for this episode. They did a wonderful job, and Grandpappy is no different. And I looked at it, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's just like in the movie.
Yeah.
But it fits in the live action setting as well because like the coloring's a little bit different. But they got him to blend in with the setting, and he interacts with the two characters there, with Anna and Elsa. And I'm like, it just works. And yes, John Rhys Davies as the voice couldn't have done better.
Yep. But he tells Anna and Elsa that he doesn't know what the diary entry means. He doesn't know why they left, but he did know where they were going. And it was this place called Misthaven, and that's all he knows. So, but Anna gets it into her head that they need to go to Misthaven.
And bear in mind, this is the day before her wedding.
Yes.
And she's sitting there, this is the bride saying, give me 2 weeks, I'll be there and be straight back. It's like, it's the day before your wedding.
Right.
Yeah,
and it's
anyone?
Yeah, and it's the same 2 weeks that their parents were supposed to take. So Elsa's hesitant at that too. Like Anna's all like, "Give me 2 weeks," and she's like, "That's what Mom and Dad said." And Elsa's like, "No, absolutely not."
Well, at first Anna was like, "Well, let's both go," and Elsa's like, "Well, I'm still queen. I can't." And, I can't show any form of weakness. Do you not realize, Hans and his 12 angry brothers, which I laughed at that, they're still out there breathing down our necks. I can't leave. And Anna says, well, I'll just go by myself. And Elsa's like, oh, heck no, you're not going by yourself because that's what Mom and Dad did. And look what happened to them. And I don't know, what I love about this whole thing with Elsa, and maybe it's the way Georgina Haig's playing her, or maybe it's the writing, or maybe it's a combination of both, is that like all these conclusions that Elsa is jumping to, like, oh, it's my fault that my parents are dead because I'm this terrifying monster, blah, blah, blah. It's very much indicative of someone who has anxiety, because when you have anxiety and you get your mind in that mindset, you jump to all these really nutty conclusions, and that are way not true and way up far in left field, but they feel very real. And there's a lot of like body language throughout the whole episode, like when she's in Storybrooke and she's like scared and nervous in the way she holds her hands and clenches her fists. It's like, yeah, I get that. Because I have episodes like that sometimes, and I'm just like, oh wow, yeah, that's perfect. The way that this character is played, and I really like that. I don't know. It just it hit close to home, but in a good way for me.
Yeah. So, Elsa puts her foot down, and I guess they go off to hopefully Anna to go change clothes because she's still in the wedding dress.
Yep.
Even
Grandpappy
was all like, it's bad to see the bride before the wedding, and Anna's all like, oh, that's just the groom.
He's like, are you having second thoughts? He won't smell like that forever. I loved it.
Yeah. So they Anna and also they part like for whatever reason. Again, I think because Anna's like, oh, okay, I'm gonna go change out of the dress so I don't get it dirtier than I probably already have.
More wedding stuff to plan. So back in Storybrooke, Emma and Hook are following the trail of ice, and it kind of cuts back and forth. You see Elsa running away, and like she's been going through town, and she sees all these new and scary things to her, and she's trying to figure out like where she is, and she doesn't know who she can trust and everything. So she ends up running into like this abandoned alley looking thing, and they follow her in there, and Emma. Well, no wait.
Was this before or after she broke into Gold's pawn shop and then saw the Storybrooke?
I think this was before.
Okay.
This is before, because she finds the newspaper after she conjures Marshmallow.
Oh, that's right.
And then the newspaper is what prompts her to go to the pawn shop. No, it's okay.
Okay.
So Emma and Hook are looking around and trying to figure out who's out here, and Emma, she has her gun out.
Yeah.
Because she does. And then, like, this big swirling, snowy mass pops out of nowhere, and you see Elsa hiding behind just a pile
crates
of
and
junk
stuff,
in the corner. Yeah, some crates and things. And the monster comes up, and it's like, oh, crap, what do we do now? And that's when Emma goes, hey, we don't want to pick a fight or anything, and then
Marshmallow doesn't
want to.
Yeah. Marshmallow, you can't reason with Marshmallow.
No, he's done. He's, his number one objective is protect Elsa. And so they go running out of the vacant lot, and here comes the big snow monster, and everybody looks up and screams, and Grumpy goes, "It's a terrible monster!" Ah! And Emma rolls her eyes and like, "Oh, I don't need this right now."
Thank you for stating the obvious, Grumpy.
Yeah.
And throughout that whole scene, it's just Grumpy just running around yelling, "Monster, monster!" And
Town
Elsa
crier,
is
that's
like,
his job. He needs a
Town
bell.
crier. I know he needs a bell in Storybrooke. and I what I love about this is that Elsa's kind of sneaking through the town, like trying to find her way around while all this chaos is going on. Then you hear Grumpy yelling "monster," and she kind of takes that to heart, like, "Yes, I am a monster," sort of thing. And it's like, oh crap,
right,
way to go, Grumpy! I'm just
to her instead of the
monster that she's conjured.
Marshmallow, yes.
Yeah. But then Marshmallow starts heading out for the forest, and Hook and Emma, at some point they're joined by Charming. They chase after the thing to see what's going on. And then we also there's a scene with Regina and Sydney talking about, and Regina's in her vault. So like Marshmallow goes by the vault, and Regina has no idea what's going on,
right.
And she doesn't care. But yeah, she's plotting with Sydney, and we've got to. Sydney's all, "Do you want me to kill Marion?" And she's like, "No, because if you did that, they'd figure out it was me, and that wouldn't do me any good." And she talks about going back in time to kill Marion before Emma can save her. And I'm like, did we not learn anything from meddling with time before?
Mm-hmm.
But they also have the book and they have it open to I guess Robin Hood and Maid Marian's wedding, because you see the illustration there, so they're talking about it, and then you can kind of see that this is just kind of working in Regina's mind, and we talked about that earlier about how what's she gonna do and how's she gonna work all this out. Well then, so you go back out to the forest, and Marshmallow is rampaging, and Emma, Hook, and Charming meet up with Robin Hood and Maid Marian and the Merry Men, and they're asking, did you see a monster? And they're all, Little John comes out, he's got his crossbow. Here comes Marshmallow, and Little John shoots something, and they're like, no, don't shoot it, because it'll only attack if it feels threatened.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think was a really perfect, because it's an extension of Elsa.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm like, hey, that's the only reason she would attack, is if she felt threatened.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't know that Elsa's there anyway. They just know that this big snow monster's here.
Yep.
And then they all get the brilliant idea of, Emma, use your magic. And this is where like Hook is all encouraging, and so Emma's like, okay, right, I can do this. And she like shoots this ball of magic at him, trying to calm him down. And that doesn't work. And so Marshmallow knocks everybody over and knocks him out. And here comes Maid Marian with her bow and arrow, and it's like, well, that's not going to work. We've already tried that.
Mm-hmm.
And then here comes Regina out of the forest. Now everybody's unconscious except for Marian.
Mm-hmm.
And it's so funny because it's Madame Mayor in her gray
skirt suit.
Skirt suit. I'm like, I want to say pantsuit, but it wasn't a pantsuit. And her high heels, and just looking every bit,
Mayor of Storybrooke.
Queen of Mayor of Storybrooke.
Yeah.
And she looks at Marshmallow, looks down at Marian, and Marian's like, help me. And then Regina poofs away, and Marion goes, "Oh no, it's she's gonna leave me to get killed," which admittedly would be an easy out.
Task. Yeah.
I thought for a minute like, oh, is she really gonna? But nope, Regina just poofed behind Marshmallow and blasted Marshmallow with her fire, and Marshmallow's gone. Poor Marshmallow.
And then Regina makes some comment. I can't remember the exact wording because Marion just stands there in shock, like, okay,
She saved me.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like
crap.
And Marion kind of admits, like, okay, maybe you're not so much of a monster. And Regina goes, I guess not. Welcome to Storybrooke, Marion. And there's just all this tension because Robin Hood, as everybody, regains consciousness. Yeah, they all come to, and they see that Regina has defeated Marshmallow, and everybody's safe. And Regina is obviously doing her darndest to take the high road here, even though it's very, very.
She's struggling.
She is trying so hard, but it is not easy. Like, it would be so easy for her right now to fry Marion to a crisp, but she knows she can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And
of course Emma's all like, Regina, we need to talk, and Regina's all like, poof, I'm out of here.
Yep.
Later.
What's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Later, losers.
Yeah.
And she's out of there.
Yeah.
And then at some point, there's another flashback to Arendelle, where Elsa goes into the stables looking for Kristoff, and she sees Sven. And I don't know if we can get a reindeer a special Emmy, but I think this reindeer deserves it.
I'm still not. Do you know, was that a real reindeer?
That was a real reindeer.
Okay, because I was like, is this a real reindeer or is this a animatronic? Because Disney does really good animatronics.
Because like first day of filming, I saw there was something on Twitter. I think Adam Horowitz tweeted it out. It's like, hey, first day of filming, and they had a thing. It's like live reindeer on set.
Okay,
so I'm pretty sure
that makes it even
reindeer.
better. The fact that it was a real reindeer, because I wasn't entirely sure.
Maybe it was just like they filmed it and got like all the different looks and things, and with special with editing and sound effects, they can make it look like he was actually had a personality,
more expressive than they actually are.
Yeah, but he's just like he actually looks like he's not talking, but he's communicating with just the way he looks, and somebody compared it to the way somebody compared it to The Office, the way people will look while conversations are going on, and I'm like, I can see that, because he's looking from between Elsa and Kristoff when they're having their conversation, and Kristoff, he's kind of trying to deflect because Elsa's looking for Anna, and Kristoff's trying to deflect, like, oh, she's looking for frosting for the cake for the wedding, and Elsa, Kristoff is not a very good liar. No. Elsa sees right through it. Finally gets him to admit that she's on her way. Anna's on her way to Misthaven, and she left like now.
Yeah, she's gone.
She's out of there, and Elsa's not.
Poor Kristoff.
Yeah, well, Kristoff's not too concerned about the bride to be.
Well, that's because Kristoff knows once Anna gets her mind set on something, there's no convincing her otherwise. So it's not worth it to argue. Probably.
And plus, he is the groom.
Yeah.
And grooms are kind of like not terribly worried about what goes on with the wedding. They just have to show up and look nice. And Kristoff has that added extra layer of he's never really lived in any kind of civilization before. He, grew up with trolls and, sold ice.
Probably typical normal behavior.
Yeah, he's just like, I don't know. It's just brides. I don't know. I live with a reindeer for...
I could just see, a scene that didn't get filmed, but you can imagine it. That once Anna and Elsa leave Grandpappy, that Anna's like, I'm gonna go change clothes. I'll see you later, Elsa. And then she does go change clothes because she's not on the ship to Misthaven in the wedding dress, which is good.
Right.
But I could just see, I could see Anna just marching into the barn where Kristoff and Sven are, and she's like, Kristoff, I'm leaving. I'm going to this place that my parents were going to. I'm going to miss our wedding. I'll be back in 2 weeks. And he's all like, okay.
Okay, honey.
Yeah. I'll marry you when you get back. Yeah.
And she's like, watch out for my sister, because
Yeah.
she needs somebody
Mm-hmm.
to stick around.
Yeah. So, but I could totally see that scene happening and Kristoff being like, okay, honey.
It's like,
Whatever you say.
Yep.
Well, when your fiance is the sister of the queen and you're the future brother-in-law to the queen, you're like, yeah, if we need to delay our wedding for 2 weeks, that's probably not a big deal. I'm sure there's some royal privilege there. So
I'm sure there is.
yeah, but we I guess as they go out to the dock and the ship is pulling away and there's nothing that Elsa can do, and Elsa's all like, well, why didn't you go with her? And Kristoff's all like, well, she asked me to stay behind so that you wouldn't be alone. And that's like, oh, tear. Like, oh, sister love.
It's like, I know. It's like Anna. It's so great because it's like Anna's first priority is her sister. Like, it doesn't even matter if it's her own happiness, and that's true from the movie, and that's true here. And what I think is interesting is that they're taking this, because in the movie it was Anna and Kristoff going after Elsa, and here it's gonna, I don't know if this is what it's gonna be, but it could be. It's like it's Elsa and Kristoff looking for Anna, because as we see at the end of the episode, well, I don't know, who knows where Kristoff is?
Yeah, at this point. But is it Kristoff that tells? As they're watching the ship sail away, is it Kristoff that tells Elsa that Misthaven has another name? Am I remembering that correctly?
Oh, yep, yeah. He says, because Elsa's like, well, why have I never heard of this Misthaven? Where is it? And Kristoff says, well, you might know it by the name the inhabitants give it. It's the Enchanted Forest.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, well, way to keep that secret too.
Yeah.
So I'm like, why does it have another name? Or is it just another name that people in Arendelle just call it Misthaven?
Yeah.
So I'm kind of wondering why the name changed. Like, why didn't they just call it the Enchanted Forest to begin with? But I suppose we'll find out.
We shall find out
later.
Yeah.
So anyway, going back to Storybrooke, there was another fun little scene between Emma and Hook, and I just totally adore. As like after they're kind of in the aftermath of the marshmallow attack, and Emma's got like snow in her hand, and she just kind of chucks it out into the forest, and Hook comes up and they're talking, and Emma turns around and goes, "Do you want to go home and see what's on Netflix?"
Yeah.
And Hook has no idea what that is, and he even admits it. It was this big dopey grin on his face, like, I don't know what that is, but sure. And it's like, it just doesn't matter what it is. If it's what Emma wants to do, he's all for it. And I kind of get a little Kristoff vibe from him in that moment. Like, I don't know, but sure.
Like, it includes sitting on the couch and cuddling with you. Sure, why not?
Yes, and it's kind of funny because at the end of last season, like there was all these interviews with Adam and Eddie, who were the creators of Once Upon a Time, and they were all like, everyone's like, freaking out. Oh my gosh, Emma and Hook, like what, what's all that going to be about? He's like, and they're all like, well, it's not going to be, ordering Chinese and watching Netflix. There's going to be a lot of conflict, and so they threw that Netflix line in there, and I'm just like, you trolls, you are magnificent trolls, and I love you for it. But no, then the scene just sort of progresses, and Emma admits that she's feeling guilty over, and she's still kind of using that as an excuse, which is a valid excuse, and she's really not avoiding Hook, and I love his little line that he's like, I'm really quite perceptive, and he's kind of playing it off as like sarcastic and snarky, and he's got the little hand gesture, and like it's like, this is avoiding me, and it's like he's trying to make a joke out of it, but it doesn't work because he's sort of hurt by it a little bit. Mm-hmm. And Emma, she admits, yeah, I am. And like there's more to it than just Regina, the thing with Regina and everything, And it she doesn't come out and say it. You just watch the scene as it unfolds, and Emma leans in, gives him a kiss, and she says, "Be patient."
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, be patient with me. I'm still trying to figure out everything, because I'm like, because she very much has feelings for Hook.
Mm-hmm.
Hook's feelings for her are very, very obvious and evident, and they just got to work through this whole thing, and it's gonna take time, which I coming from this show, I really appreciate that, because they tell the show tells a story over a long period of time. Like, it has taken three seasons for Emma to get to this point where she does feel like she can open up and be with somebody, but still she has a lot of reservations. On any other show, it would have been like happily ever after, get married, have kids, and everything's wonderful and it's great. Well, no, because real people aren't that way. And for all the talk that this is about fairy tales and there's magic and monsters and all these things, what I appreciate the most about Once Upon a Time is that you can have all these fantasy elements and you can have all these traditional iconic characters from fairy tales, but they still treat them like they're real people in any other real life drama that you can have. Yeah. And I think that's one of the great reasons why this show is such a success as much as it is. And so Emma goes off. Hook says he's got all the time in the world unless another monster shows up and tries to kill him. Yeah. Which I'm like, don't say that, please.
Don't jinx yourself.
Don't tempt fate, you idiot.
Yeah.
And then the next scene is Emma outside the mayor's office, and they basically recreate the door scene at the end of Do You Want to Build a Snowman? Where Anna's on one side of the door and Elsa's on the other. This time it's Emma and Regina, and Regina's like curled up with her back against the door, and she's not saying anything, and Emma says, it's my job to bring back the happy endings, including yours, and that's, if you're not going to fight for it, I will. Which I don't know what she thinks she's going to do, but okay. Guess we'll figure that out as we go along.
Mm-hmm.
And then Regina still has the magic mirror. She's got the book in there. She finally gets up, and she's obviously, she's just been bawling her eyes out, poor lady.
Mm-hmm.
And she looks at the book, and she's like, and she gets the idea of happy endings, and she realizes in the book, the stories only see her as the villain. And villains never get happy endings, which was something clear back at the beginning of season 3.
Mm-hmm.
And that villains don't ever get the happy ending. So Regina, wants to find who wrote the book and force them to give the villains their happy endings. Which by villains, I'm assuming she means her, because Rumple and Hook are traditionally villains in the story, and they're still around, and they're doing kind of okay on the happy ending front, and I don't think either of them would appreciate her screwing that up.
Yeah.
Oh, especially Rumple. I don't think he'd be too happy with her.
Yeah.
No. But it brings up an interesting point. Where did the book... Nobody knows where this book came from. Nobody knows who wrote it. Or why it's written the way it is. Some stories...
It never occurred to me that, I said this after the episode aired, it didn't occur to me that a person may have written this book. I just assumed that with the curse and all the magic and everything, that it just kind of came into existence.
Yeah, so. I did too. I just thought it was a way for Henry to help Emma realize that she, that the stories were true back in season 1.
Right.
But I do like that they're still keeping it around, and it still has a purpose. Like, even last season, there was that episode where they had to go find the book so Henry could get his memories back.
Mm-hmm.
And break that curse.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that they're still using it, because it's such a symbolic, it's such a big symbol for the show.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of little details and objects that are important. And then with the next scene with Rumple back at the back at the mansion. Because earlier he had seen this little kind of trinkety box sitting on one of the end tables. So he paid attention to it. It's because it's something he's obviously familiar with. And so in the middle of the night, he gets up and he goes.
It's got a buckety kind of outline.
Yeah, it's round
it's
and
like,
it's got some stars on it, and it kind of looks like, like something you'd maybe put like small pieces of jewelry or spare change in or something.
Yeah, and it's designed, like Holly said, it looks like a wooden bucket, but it's like gold.
Yeah.
And got jewels and gems in it. So it's very stylized, very pretty. I'm like, I want one.
Yeah.
That's another thing you guys can market. Anyway, So Rumpel goes, and he gets the real dagger out of Belle's bag again, which, whatever. And he does some, magic thing, and you see all this blue magic coming up out of it. And it's a hat. It's a sorcerer's hat.
It's not just any sorcerer's hat.
It's the hat from Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Hat.
Mm-hmm. If you've ever seen
from Fantasia.
And it's very evocative of that, and I love, because I'd heard rumors that they were going to include the Sorcerer's Apprentice hat in that, but I was thinking, okay, the cartoon design of that is blue and stars and moons, but if you bring that into the real world, into this show, it's gonna kind of look hokey.
Mm-hmm. But this doesn't. It's almost it's got the shape of the hat, but the look to it is almost like 3D. Like, it's kind of iridescent, and it's almost got like a galaxy look to it. Mm-hmm. So it's very cool looking.
It's very, very creative. I love that they have the galaxies in that hat, and it's like the shape, you can tell it's the sorcerer's hat, but the design of it fits so well into the rest of the show. And I think it was interesting. And I'm just going to throw this theory out there because it's out there on the interwebs. People are talking about it. Because the Sorcerer's Apprentice, if you've seen the cartoon or seen Fantasia, people know about Mickey Mouse, and he enchants the brooms and the bucket to fill up the buckets and everything. And so that imagery is very well known. Mm-hmm. But there's the sorcerer is. Yen Sid is his name.
Which is Disney spelled backwards.
Disney backwards. And even the animators, when they were working on that sequence, some of his disapproving facial features, they based them on what Walt Disney would look like when he saw work that he wasn't quite pleased with. And so the sorcerer, he was very, there was a lot of nods to Walt Disney himself. And so there's kind of this theory that maybe Yen Sid is the one who wrote the book. So this would almost be an homage of sorts to Walt Disney. And I'm like, that's perfect.
Mm. Like, I haven't heard that, but I like the sound of it.
Yeah. So it's not necessarily Walt showing up in Storybrooke, but it's someone, to pay tribute to him
it's a nice
in some way.
Nod and a wink to the legacy of, Disney and all of that. So yeah, I kind of like that.
Especially since Once Upon a Time is just dripping with Disney influence.
Oh yes, yeah.
So it's
definitely with
that's one
with a lot of the looks, like the character, the way they look, and some of the costumes and stuff. Like we saw Belle in the blue dress with the white apron, and we've now seen them in the Beauty and the Beast ballroom outfits and all that. So. Yeah, definitely that.
And there was an episode in season 1 where Snow White wore her it was a Snow White dress, like what she had in the movie. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, hey, and even if it's not the way they grow, I just kind of like the theory.
Yeah. I'll tell you when I first saw the hat, my first thought was Merlin, actually.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
That maybe they'll somehow work Merlin into the storyline. So
they have had Lancelot.
He's a wizard, and he's extremely powerful. So he could be the author. I think whoever owns the hat is probably the author of the book.
Yeah.
Would be
Well,
my
they do.
guess.
There is an episode later that is called The Apprentice. I think it's episode 4. Yeah, because when they were putting out episode titles, so I don't know.
So we may find out as early as episode 4.
Yeah, we could very well.
Yeah.
So anyway, but then the episode closes out with Elsa. She is found there. There's a newspaper with a wedding announcement on the front page with a great big picture. Which, sure, Storybrooke's a small town. Their newspaper probably doesn't have a lot going on. But the picture, it's a picture of Mr. Gold marrying, announcing Mr. Gold and Belle getting married.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a picture of Gold and Belle in the pawn shop, and they look all happy. And Elsa recognizes Gold as Rumpelstiltskin because that's who kept her prisoner in his vault. And
then she also recognized something else in that picture.
Mm,
when
that
I
too.
zoomed in on the close-up.
That's right.
There was a snowflake necklace.
Yeah. Because she finds Gold's pawn shop, and in the chaos of everybody running off to the forest after Marshmallow, the town's empty, I guess, and she can break in and nobody will notice. But she uses her powers to freeze the lock and open the door, and she walks in, and the case there at the end when you walk in where Gold is usually standing, she sees this like little glass display case, and it's the necklace that she gave Anna as a wedding present to go with the wedding dress. And she picks it up and says, I will find you, Anna, leaving us like, okay, is Anna in Storybrooke? Or where? Okay.
Where is she? And you look at the necklace, because the way it's cut, because that's when they have the scene where you see Anna sailing off to Misthaven, and she's got her necklace still, and it looks all nice and pretty. Well, the one that Elsa has in Storybrooke, it almost looks like part of it's melted, and it's bent back, and it's tarnished, and looks like it's been through quite a bit. And I'm just kind of like, oh dear, what happened to Anna?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I kind of don't want to think about it, because it's Anna, and you don't want to find out that she's, something terrible happened to her, and probably thanks to Rumpelstiltskin at some point. And if you've seen the Next Time promo for the episode that will be airing tomorrow, as we're recording Saturday tonight, there's Elsa says, no one leaves this town until I find my sister. So she is casting she's casting eternal winter over Storybrooke, and all the power's out, and Emma is going to be trapped under ice, and it doesn't look too good.
No.
Which they're raising these stakes fairly early. It's only episode 2. It's like, okay, this is pretty intense for the first couple of episodes here. So I guess Elsa she's gonna take on and be the monster, as as everybody thinks. She thinks everybody thinks she is, and she's gonna terrorize Storybrooke until she finds her sister. Which I'm kind of like, well, this is an interesting development.
Yeah, it's a different dynamic though, because she's not terrorizing for the sake of terrorizing.
Right,
she wants to keep everybody contained so that she can get the answers that she's looking for.
That's true. I mean, I guess terrorizing isn't quite the right word. It's she's using what she has at her disposal to
find Anna.
To find Anna, and to accomplish this. So I think this is going to be an exciting season, and they set up a lot of things. They had to set up a lot of things for this, and they took care of some things that we're worried about, and they promised resolution eventually to other things we're wondering about, and they introduced new stuff for the season. So I'm excited about this. They're going in a very creative direction with it, and I could not be more pleased, and I hope it continues.
Me too.
I'm sure it will.
Oh yes.
I'm ready for it.
And I'm liking how they started this out, especially for somebody like me who hasn't watched all of it leading up to this, but I still felt like I could jump in and be okay. And at least one episode in, I am So
yeah, this is a very good jumping in point.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike last season where you like season 3 almost started at the end of season 2, and you kind of had to know what had already been happening. This season, because it felt like there was so many storylines closed off at season 3, but then they reopened them for other reasons. It feels like it's a new show, but not. If that makes any sense.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, yeah, it just feels like it's sort of like when you're reading a book series and you finish book 1 and you realize that was a self-contained story, kind of like Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone is its own thing. Then you go into Chamber of Secrets, and those are the same characters. You know what they did in the last book, but this is a totally new story, and they're going. That's kind of how this feels to me, which I really enjoy and appreciate, and I feel like it's going to be paced about the way that the second half of season 3 was, which I thought was brilliantly paced, and they did a really good job with that one. So I'm eager to see where it goes from here.
Oh, yes.
Me too. So, yay! Shows are back.
Our shows are back. I feel like I've got so much to do now.
Yeah.
It's great.
Gotta make sure the remote control's got fresh batteries, so.
Yes, and that your Hulu Plus subscription is still going.
Yeah. That too.
In my case.
Yeah. So. Alrighty then. I think that's it for this week at least.
Yeah.
So very exciting stuff, and of course we'll put links to everything that we discussed in the show notes, which you can find at the fiveishfangirlspodcast.blogspot.com. There you can find links to Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr and all that fun stuff, and you can send in feedback and our Patreon page and all that fun stuff. So
get download links and everything.
Exactly.
Oh, and I just want to throw in one more thing. While we're not, I mean, we talked about the Once Upon a Time premiere. We're not going to be talking about every episode every week, but I am going to be reviewing each episode, well, recap/reviewing, on my own blog at cjsnotebook5.blogspot.com. So if you're interested in more fangirl gushing and as the season progresses and just kind of my random thoughts, please come visit, leave a comment, and just generally enjoy.
Mm-hmm. Oh, cool.
Just thought I'd throw that out there.
Hey, no. Shameless self-promotion. We're all for it.
I can't help it.
Oh.
I have many thoughts and feelings I have to get out.
Yeah. What Chrissy puts up on her blog is the pared down version of the multiple pages of notes that she takes. How many pages of notes did you take for this episode?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And I didn't think I would take so many because I thought I would just be so riveted by the show. And I was. I watched it once, and then this was on my second viewing is when I was taking notes. So I had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess 7.5. And I was just scribbling as I went along. And it's just mostly just random little thoughts I have as I go along. But yeah, Sven is the best man. Sorry, I was just looking over my notes.
I did like
some
them.
gems.
Yeah. Oh my. So, yes. No. Sundays, ABC, Once Upon a Time. Check your local listings.
Yep.
And then it's usually available on ABC's website, so if you happen to miss it.
And Hulu has it the day after for free. I think they keep the first 4 or 5 episodes, or the latest 4 or 5 episodes up there on the free side. Any more after that, you have to get on Hulu Plus. But it's an option.
Yep.
It's one I use very much.
Depending on when you're listening to this and when it gets posted, I know that they are supposed to be re-airing the season premiere before they air episode 2 tomorrow night.
Oh, they are? Okay. I did not know that.
Yep.
Just in case you missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Or
And
you
our
want to watch it
recap
again.
wasn't spoilery enough for
Enough.
you.
Yeah.
If you want to see it in context. you can watch it.
Yes. And without all of our tangents of what could be and theorizing and other random giggly things.
Yep. So. Alrighty then. So I think with that being said, we will sign off for this week.
All right. Well, this is Chrissy in Salt Lake City signing off and saying good night.
This is Holly from Wisconsin saying good evening.
And I am Rachel from Indianapolis, Indiana. Good night, everyone.
You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.